Well, hello there, everyone. My name is Kalanon, and I'm going to be the DM for a D&D 5e slightly homebrewed edition of Might and Magic 7 for Blood and Honor. For those of you who may not be familiar with this, Might and Magic 7 was a game produced in 1999 for PC computers by 3DO and New World Computing. It is a entry into the series that started back in the 80s. This is the seventh entry in the series. It also coincides very well with the world of the Heroes and Might and Magic series by the same developers. This game in particular, like I said, was brought out in 1999, and for years I've thought it would make a very dynamic and interesting story for a D&D campaign. And fortunately, it has just so happened I found a group of people who would be willing to work with me on running a campaign based on this world. So, for any of you that are familiar with the Might and Magic 7 game in particular, if you're listening in, you may identify a lot of the same worlds, the same races, the same setups, as well as the politics involved in this game in particular, as well as other things that I won't spoil here. And I please ask that any of you that are watching this and joining in, please don't spoil, as well as the characters that are playing this are going in completely blind. They have no knowledge of this game, they have no knowledge of this series, and I would like to keep it that way because if those of you who are aware, who have played this game, there can be some pretty interesting twists and turns, and we want to keep it as closed as possible. So what we have is we have 5 adventurers in our party. The first one is going to be Canon. He is going to be a paladin construct, which for those of you who are familiar with the series, works well enough with the golems of the Bracada Desert. So we'll be using him. His name is Canon. Obviously, it seems like there's going to be a lot of jokes centered around that, and that's perfectly fine. After that, we have Gregory. Gregory is a dragonborn fighter. If you're familiar with the game as well, you'll know that he could be from the land of the Titans, where the dragons tend to dwell. So we'll be using that. We've got Kyla, who is a tabaxi. Unfortunately, there really isn't a place for me to work her into the campaign, at least her race. So we're going to be turning around and basically saying that she's a wanderer and has joined this group of her own free will. We also have Triss, who is a Yordle. For those of you familiar with the League of Legends series, you may be familiar with what a Yordle is, as well as where the name came from. With Triss in particular, we'll be using a halfling setting for her. So if you are following along and you want to look at the halfling races in your 5e handbook, we are essentially just running Triss's character with the halfling setup without actually creating a whole new race of our own. The Yordle will be taking place of gnomes in my world, so the Yordles and the dwarves will be dwelling together within Stone City, if you're familiar with the game. And then the last one we have is Zona Rook, who's going by Zona. They are a half-orc monk who at some point wants to delve into some magic, but we're not at that point yet. So, as far as who the players are in the group, we have a wide variety of experience, ranging from people that have played for years to someone specifically who has yet to play, and this is their first campaign. So there's going to be a lot of interesting things going on. We will not be doing this in a super fast pace, as these are not necessarily super experienced players. There's going to be lots of questions, lots of answering, and honestly just a lot of learning going on, which is perfectly fine. So for those of you who might be following along, the one thing we're asked is please don't dwell on the rules too much, as we are homebrewing this to some extent. So we don't want people being so focused on the rules that if we aren't doing something 100% by the book, we're okay with that. And that's how we want it to be. We want to have fun, and sometimes we will use the rules more as a guideline than anything else, which is truly how they're intended to be used. So please don't jump all up and down if we aren't doing things exactly by the book. Outside of that, the plan for us is to be able to do this stream pretty much every other Wednesday night, as we are all pretty busy people. Most of us work 50-hour jobs, and there are a couple of us who are fortunate to only work 40. But we are extremely busy people, so trying to get together every 2 weeks is about the best we're going to be able to do. We will be putting all of our streams on Twitch first as a live stream. The plan will be to launch those approximately at 8:30 at night, possibly a little bit earlier, possibly a little bit later, and they will run right up till about 10:30 or 11, just depending on when we can find a good break point. After they are recorded, we will turn around and I will be downloading those and re-uploading them onto our YouTube channel, which we can then keep there for a long period of time in case people want to go back and watch from the beginning. We will also at least temporarily be uploading an audio-only version onto YouTube as well until one of our party or player characters can actually take the time and potentially set up a website where if people want, they can actually download an MP3 podcast of our live streams. So we're going to try to get out there and have a lot of different avenues to reach out to you guys. If you go to our Twitch page or to our YouTube page, you will be able to find all of the different links to an Instagram webpage, our Twitter account. Triss actually, ironically, has an Etsy shop where she paints and does custom paint minis. So if you're interested in some of that, please go check that out as well. And then I believe, obviously on YouTube, there's a link to Twitch, and Twitch, there's a link to YouTube. So for whatever reason, you can't make it to the live stream and you still want to follow along or jump in or check out something in particular, we will have everything re-uploaded to YouTube, usually the next morning, pending any technical issues. So what we do encourage is for you guys, if you're going to be watching the live stream or even commenting on the YouTube, is just to get involved, ask us questions. We will answer them to the best of our ability. But for the most part, the only reason we're doing this is it's just fun. This is something we as a group enjoy doing. So it's not like we're sitting here doing this to become rich and famous. We just want to have a good time with it, enjoy it. And since we can't meet up in person, it's very easy for us to record all of this by using the Roll20 software. So if you guys are having fun watching it, you know what? That's good enough for us. We're not looking to make anything special off of this. Outside of that, the only other things I have to add for episode 0 are what you guys may have missed in the live stream. So I'll kind of recap. Our 5 adventurers who have known each other for a little while decided to enter Lord Markham's contest on Emerald Isle, where they would have a chance to win the title to the town of Harmondale, and in doing so become lords and ladies of Harmondale. They obviously don't know anything about the town other than apparently it comes with a town, civilians, and a castle, which is always cool. So Lord Markham, who is the current leaseholder of Harmondale, is looking for a group of sturdy adventurers who can come in and want to take the town over and potentially turn it into a wonderful kingdom. Obviously, for those of you who are familiar with the game, you know there's a lot of plot twists coming up, but again, please, we are not asking for anyone to spoil anything for our player characters since they're running into this blind. So for those of you familiar with the game, Lord Markham decides the best way to decide who's going to get to run Harmondale is by having a scavenger hunt, which sounds pretty lame because, well, it kind of is. I don't know how a scavenger hunt determines if you're going to be a great politician, but apparently he thinks it will. So he's going to run this adventure. We did a little bit shortened version from the game. All we asked our adventurers to find was a red potion. We asked them to find a musical instrument. We asked them to find a tile from the library of the Temple of the Moon. And we also asked them to find a missing adventurer's shield. Fortunately, one of our characters, I believe Kyla, came pre-equipped with a healing potion, which we determined would be a red potion, if you're familiar with how the Might and Magic series works. So they had that on their checklist. Gregory did have a musical instrument, but he did not want to give it up. So instead, our adventurers decided to visit the local tavern and proceeded to get involved in some shenanigans. There was musicians playing, so our adventurers decided to try to find ways to con them out of their instruments, to buy their instruments from them. Triss, in particular, seemed to have sticky fingers and kept trying to steal money from people, successfully, I might add. So, after a while, they finally came to a decision where Gregory got up, since the musicians had stopped playing music and they didn't feel like they were going to be able to get the instruments from them. So he got up and started playing music of his own to see if anyone would start playing along. And sure enough, as they got the crowd into it, Gregory was playing kind of an Irish jig, and Triss decided to do some almost like river dancing. And everyone in the bar was extremely drunk, and it just so happened a dwarf in the back who was very intoxicated had a harmonica, and he pulled it out and started playing along. And fortunately, Triss was able to sneak up, along with a little bit of help from Cannon as a distraction, and able to swipe the harmonica away from the dwarf. After they succeeded at that, they decided to go explore the cave that would lead them to the Lost Library and the Temple of the Moon. They had their first encounter with a group of goblins who were actually doing some decent damage. There was 3 of them in total, but our adventurers dispatched them relatively easily without too many issues. Something I may have forgot to mention, I believe Kyla is a druid. Her favorite form is a tiger currently. She also has a bear form. She used the tiger form while in the cave. Triss is obviously a rogue, and Zona just likes to punch things. So overall, they didn't have any trouble, and basically that's where we left off. They had just started exploring the temple. So other than that, you guys really didn't miss a whole lot other than the shenanigans in the tavern, which is unfortunate. But that all being said, we will get back to that at some point in the near future, where you guys can, I'm sure, join in on some of the fun that they're going to have. All that being said, that's really all that happened in episode, I guess, 0 in this case. It was nothing too insane, nothing new, nothing crazy. So I just wanted to get on here and give a recap and a quick introduction. Episode 1 is currently uploaded if you want to jump right in at episode 1. Again, we will be using the Roll20 website with dynamic lighting attached. So if you guys aren't familiar with how dynamic lighting works, it's actually really cool. You should go check it out. It's basically sets up where I, as the DM, can give them a field of vision, and that's all they can see. Then I can put light sources within the dungeon that they can see, which increases their vision. It's a really neat tool. For the most part, the plan is to be doing the streams off the DM's view, which would be my view. So one thing we are asking is, if you're watching along, please don't put out any spoilers. Obviously, on the DM's view, there are things that I can hide that I don't want the players to see, such as surprise encounters, traps, or frankly, you can see the layout of the entire dungeon because my vision as the DM is not shielded, whereas theirs as the players is. So if you're going to be following along on the live stream, we please ask, do not have any spoilers. We are also asking our players not to watch any of the restreams until after they've completed the dungeon, as some of our players have been kind of intrigued to see what's on the other side of the wall. So outside of that, I really don't have much more to talk about. If you have any questions or comments, please don't be afraid to leave them down below, and hopefully we can have a bunch of you join in and have a little bit of fun with us every other Wednesday. Once in a while that will change, and we will announce it at the end of each episode. For example, we're actually doing it 2 weeks in a row. Woohoo! But usually it'll be every other week. So that all being said, again, my name is Kalanon, and I'm going to go ahead and sign out. I hope we can see some of you in our live stream soon, or even in our comment section of the YouTube page. So have a great night, and keep adventuring.